Good evening. You're listening to Speakeasy, a division of public affairs. I'm Helene, your host, and with me tonight is British psychic Jenny O'Connor. I'm glad you're with us, Jenny.
Hi.
You can call us here and ask Jenny any questions you might have. The numbers are 752-2776 and 752-2778. We'll be taking calls during the hour. Jenny, in 1978, you were published in the National Enquirer as finding a body of a missing boy. Now, the Enquirer has the reputation of being, shall we say, less than factual, and is regularly being sued. If what you did was psychic and accurate, why were you published by the Enquirer?
I think because obviously they needed some news that particular week. I hear that the National Enquirer generally check out the British publications, and in doing so that particular week they found the story of me finding Lester's body. It was something that suited their media form, which was, hey, hello, you know, this is Spirit, and sent a reporter to see me, and hence there I was in America before I knew where I was.
Did you go to them, or did they come to you then?
They came to me.
They came to you.
I don't think anyone ever goes to the Enquirer, do they?
I hope not. Did any other publications at that time print your story?
Not American, no. English, yes.
What exactly is a psychic? You know, could you define it for me? And are there different levels of being psychic?
Okay, for me there are two major forms. There is a psychic that is leaving the consciousness right now, and there is a psychic that's entering. The psychic that's leaving is the ectoplasm, please blow your trumpet type seance. This is the psychic that basically wears a twin set and pearls. And this particular psychic will pass messages from your grandmother, or a Red Indian guide, or a Chinese guide, whatever the story is, to you, never identifying herself or himself with the messages that they're passing on. For me, the new form of psychic that's moving in is simply a statement of awareness of consciousness. The psychic that's moving in will say, okay, these things are very visible in your life. These things are something that you put out every day. The way you feel about your husband is exactly how you talk about him and is no surprise. So I can either surprise you by saying, isn't it wonderful that you have your legs crossed and I know that you have a sex problem? Or I can say to them that because I see your legs crossed, that you have a sexual problem, and that's not only psychic, it's perceptive. So I'm saying that within you, every aspect of you is visible, and that I simply act as a bilinguist within that consciousness and translate it for you.
Now, do you have to be psychic then to understand body language then? Where does the ability come in?
It's not necessarily a body language, okay, because what it is a tone language too. It's the production of your voice, it's the production of your body, it's the production of the way you dress, it's the production of how you move through life. As well as that, it's a sharp guess into the future, and I mean a sharp guess, that I will firmly give an angle of acuteness to a guess that I will take about where you are going. The best a psychic can do is register a 70% right chart, okay, because it is simply a guess. You may change your mind at any way through that journey. You may change your mind. So the best I can do is offer an acute guess. I can either tell you that it's totally my responsibility and please come back to see me once a week for the next 6 months, or I can tell you that it was a very visible aspect of your life
at that time,
and give you some advice about that
and how to act on it.
And how to act on it.
Okay. I've, reading all sorts of stuff in the papers and in books. There's precognition, the ability to foresee in the future. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Telekinesis, and to the ability to physically move an object without touching it.
Mm-hmm.
And like clairvoyancy in terms of seeing.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of roles do these play, if they do play any roles in psychic abilities?
Okay. First of all, mankind thinks that their skin finishes at their skin, so that anything external to their skin, flesh, bones, or body belongs to the universe. Okay, I know that the space between me and you, this conversation, is a meeting place. It's not God's, it's not the devil's, and it doesn't belong to anyone else. It's simply our meeting place. So it's not only our flesh meeting, it's our consciousness meeting too. As I look at that consciousness meeting, I can read from what I'm thinking and what you're thinking, and I can make up a story. It's called mythology. That's how mythology has lasted throughout the aeons. So if you want to work it into telekinesis, it's simply that I do not believe in skin level and can take my consciousness past that level to a material object and move it. So it's simply not believing in limitations that allows telekinesis.
Do different people have then different types of these powers?
Of course. Different fingerprints.
There are so many charlatans and fakers out there. How would a person know, for example, if you're authentic or if you are not? What do they have to go through, a test or what?
Okay, if you're hearing what I'm saying in your mind and you're judging what I'm saying with your mind, then that's where charlatan comes in. If you feel what I'm saying to be true, then that makes it real. So basically it depends on how good a story I tell and how much you believe it as to whether I'm a charlatan or not. The degree of charlatanism depends on the listener, not on the giver.
So some people could say you're a charlatan and some people would believe you, depending on...
Some people will say I'm a charlatan.
So you're saying it's in the minds
of the beholder.
Of the audience, yeah, like beauty.
Yes, something like that. Don't say beauty on the air.
I won't say beast either.
People might think that they're lovely.
Jenny, when were you first aware of your psychic abilities? What was your first experience?
I remember when I was very small, listening to adults talk and knowing what they were really saying, but hearing them being polite to one another. And I would say, Mom, aren't you really saying that to that person? And she would say, no, don't say that in front of the person, they may leave.
How old were you there?
Maybe 5 or 6. And learning how politeness and mannerisms and the playing art role comes into your life that early. So I thought, hey, these people are really either deaf or they're liars. That when I see people relate to one another, I really want them to relate from a heartfelt space of, this is what I'm thinking about you right now in life. What do you have to say about yourself? Okay. What do you have to say about our relationship? Not what are you going to tell your next door neighbor about meeting me for coffee, but what do you have to say to me? So how can we relate to each other as human beings on a real level? And that's, so charlatan comes in again there. So what is a charlatan? Is it a next door neighbor that doesn't tell her friend that the next door neighbor doesn't like her? Is it a next door neighbor that doesn't tell her friend that she's having an affair with her husband? Where does charlatan fit in as far as humankind is concerned?
So it's the ability maybe to discern the truth and
to tell
speak it?
Yes. It's the hardest thing in the world. Nobody wants to hear it.
And how much more developed are your abilities today, and to what extent as they were to that first time? They're
very attuned simply because I refused to give up the childhood part of myself that still believed in the tooth fairy, that still believed in Santa Claus, that I refused to give that up and say that was a part of my past, but I know that what I am right now is past, now, and future. And that if I remember that, that makes those 3 components a moving evolutionary force.
For those of you who have just tuned in, you're listening to Speakeasy, a division of Public Affairs. Tonight's guest is British psychic Jenny O'Connor. We're taking telephone calls now. You can ask Jenny anything by calling the number 752-2776 and 752-2778. Jenny, what are your limitations? And how much energy does this take out of you?
Limitations as to what? The information I can give?
Mm-hmm.
The limitations would be as far as the person who was talking to me was prepared to go. For example, if somebody phones me up and says, can you give me my mother's exact birth date because in order to believe in you I need that, then that's absolutely no good to me at all. The psychic manifestation is not only what I produce as an answer, but what the person produces as a question, that within that meeting is the answer. If there's anything to prove ordinarily, unless they get right to the point, there's nothing that I can offer them. I'm really available to talk about conceptual questions about how does psychic manifest in your life, what is demon possession, what is schizophrenia, how to recognize voices in your life if such a thing exists, how to use the components of what are separation issues in people's lives to bring them together as a whole issue. If it's how to find your Persian rug, I'm sorry, but I don't know where your Persian rug is. It's something that I choose not to direct my talent towards right now.
Okay, I see we have a caller on the line. Is the caller there?
Yes, I am. Hi. When you were saying about asking questions, I can ask you a question about myself, and you can maybe give me advice.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a senior and I'm graduating in June. Can you tell over the phone what I'll be doing after I graduate, or what would be best for me to do?
Well, the first thing I can tell by your voice is that you're very acutely attuned with animals. That you have a poetic sense that moves you in as far as nature is concerned. I would be thinking right now that you had been disappointed in a love affair, and that I would be talking to you about how to deal with the heartache that you seem to constantly bring in on yourself by choosing men that are intellectually different to you, that somehow you're not willing to grasp the opportunities that life offers you, that somehow failure is always succinct with the parental relationship that you had, so that I would ask you to stop looking back at your past memories and to start looking forward as to what you want to achieve in, I would hope, would be a medical field.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny?
Mm-hmm.
Does this run in your family?
Smartness, yeah.
And the psychic ability?
Psychic ability is just a well-attuned and temperate smart.
And does it run in your family?
No, not that I've seen.
Then it could be self-taught, do you think?
It could be that I never, ever forgot who I was or where I came from. I never, ever went into a social disruption called adulthood.
Okay, so are you saying it could be self-taught?
I'm saying it always is.
It always
has
is.
nothing to do with taught. Taught is a long elastic band.
Okay, how could I learn then, you know? Could I learn?
You could remember. Learning is believing that you never felt it. Knowing is always. So it's like when I talk to someone and they find it familiar, they call it déjà vu, which again takes it outside of their experience. I'm telling you that the déjà vu is you, that mankind has existed for millennia. Mm-hmm. And don't believe in monkeys.
We're going to take a break now, and we will be returning with calls in a moment. For those of you who'd like to ask a question of Jenny, the numbers again are 752-2776 and 752-2778. Okay, I believe we have a caller on the air now. Caller, are you there? Okay. Do you want to address your question, Jenny?
Yes, I wanted to ask Jenny if her experiences so far here at KDVS, or in the radio station, have given her any feelings about the energies that people have put into it there, which would give her any indication about the future of KDVS.
That's a really interesting question, because as I walked in, it was exactly what I was thinking about. And the energy of KDVS is very much that of many people not knowing each other, coming into a new atmosphere where nobody's sure of who's boss. So what there is here is very much a dissection of consciousness. But also very much a willingness to become the station, whatever that means. So what I saw in the room was a large entity saying, "I want to be the station, I want to be the station." And what I saw was a lot of nomads walking around saying, "Well, who's boss? Well, who's boss?" So that's exactly what I picked up, and I thank you very much for a wide open question like that.
Well, that's incredibly astute, yes.
Why, are you from KDVS?
No, I just happened to be aware of some of the energies that were around there, and I had a feeling that they weren't particularly, well, what I would call good, and I wanted to know if you had any advice from that.
What is your advice for as far as what do you see KDVS doing?
Well, pretty much as you described, but, you know, I'm not the person that's supposed to be on the radio, so...
Well, you're on the radio now. so let's imagine that you're now on the radio. What's the best advice that you could give for KDVS?
Well, I think that it needs more emphasis on the unifying of that spirituality of all wanting to become the station and wanting to become the station, and that they need to address their energies to exactly that, and perhaps to disregard some of the formalities that, not disregard, but perhaps
stop trying to hit the minorities, you know.
Significance of the administrative task that it has, and go on into the livelihood of what a radio station is about.
That's good. Well, you have a great voice, so maybe you could put yourself up as one of the DJs here. And let's see if you can...
yeah,
you sound like you're really politically motivated, so maybe you could come in here and give us a lesson on it.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye.
We have our next caller. Are you there, caller? Hello, are you there, caller?
Pardon me?
Okay, you have a question for Jenny.
Lately I've been having a lot of concern and anxiety about something that's been going on, and I'd just like some help trying to figure out what it is exactly.
Okay, what's the something that's going on? Your fear. I know you're afraid, but tell me what you're afraid about.
Afraid about exactly?
Afraid about exactly?
I don't know. It's a lot of different things. It's school, it's personal, but it doesn't seem to be exactly one of those things, and I can't exactly put my finger on it.
Do you have a heavy father?
Pardon me?
Do you have a heavy father?
Heavy father is an overweight?
No, as in heavy brother. As in laying pressure on you a lot.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, that's what I'm picking up psychically, so if you don't, then you need to give me your question again.
Okay, my question to you is this. Lately, I've just been having a lot of concerns and anxiety about something that's been going on.
What's the something called, okay? If you're calling it something, you're having a feeling that something's happening in your life. What is that feeling? What is that something called?
Well, I guess right now it mostly relates to school. But then again, I can't exactly figure out what it is precisely.
Could it be girls and exams?
Exams? Well, part of it's exams because it's that time of the term where those are coming up.
Did you hear the word before exams?
No, I didn't.
It was girls.
Girls?
How does that hit you?
Well, that could be. I don't know. Everything seems to be going fine in that area right now.
Okay, it seems to me that you're one guy that cannot express your feelings verbally, so that what you do is you put out the hope to receive back some emotion, but you never give emotion out in your voice. What happens in the meantime is that you keep getting rejected. For me, it's something that's been happening to you since probably you were 13 or 14. There's something about you that changed from athletic to intellectual. And in that change, you're thinking too much. You plan, you strategy too much. You don't just go for a free date to see how you'll enjoy yourself. You're going to worry about how the chick relates to you, how the woman is going to be with you before you're ever with the woman. What I suggest that you do is bring yourself into a moment called now. There's a word in the English language called nowhere. If you put a line through that word, it becomes now here. Okay, I want you to remember that you're now here. And what do you have to say right now in your life? Not what you had to say or what you expected to happen to you. Never allowing room for your pessimism, but simply, what do you want right now from your life? And see if you can give it to me in one succinct sentence. What do you want right now? What's your name, by the way?
My name's Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
Tell me what you want right now in life.
Right now, I want sincerity from the people around me.
Okay, how can you get that?
Well, I don't know. At times I think I'm giving it to them. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm being sincere.
Okay, so if you're putting out sincerity as a mirror and you're not receiving it back, why do you think you're not receiving it back? If that's what you're putting out.
I really don't know.
See,
I don't know if it's the way I'm going about it or...
Well, right, I think that you're putting out the expectancy to be disappointed, and I think that's your sincerity. I think you're sincere about being expected to be disappointed.
You mean I expect to be disappointed?
Yeah, I think you set yourself up for it. What I'd really like you to do right now in your life is to tell this lady that I see on the sideline that's probably about 5'2" and real cute with brown hair, that you really like her. Can you do that?
Sure I can.
Good. Ciao, Eric.
Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We have our next caller on the line.
Hello, Jenny.
You want to go
Hi.
ahead?
Hi, I was wondering if you've thought about the future history of the United States at all, possibly what's going to happen with President Reagan, anything important like that.
Okay, I have thought about that, and for me, I think Reagan will be re-elected. I think that he will die in his next presidential office. I can't imagine that Reagan would go out any other way but that a hero. And the best hero death that he can have is dying in office.
Kind of off into the sunset.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
on his horse. They'll probably bury his horse with him. The effect of this is, it goes way back, that every 20 years in the history of the United States, your president has died in office without fail, the last 6 times every 20 years. So you're due for it again, and Reagan's the candidate.
Well, that's great. All right. Who's going to follow him as president? Do you have any idea?
It's got to be a black man, hasn't it?
Jesse Jackson, possibly?
I think I'm thinking more of Andrew Young.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking more of a media, you know, that Jesse Jackson's... I remember hearing Jesse Jackson on the radio quite recently, and he said something great. You know, he said, hey, there's a train coming, people, and it's black. And what I'm hearing him saying is, it's like, he really is aware that the minorities, you know, the blacks, victims, whatever else the minorities are now the majorities. And that they hold political sway because they still claim to be the minorities. I don't really care about creed or race or anything else. What I do care about is the loudest voice, whether it's black, white, or indifferent. And one of the loudest voices right now is Jesse Jackson, but I believe that he'll pass it over to another black candidate because I believe that he's too radical.
Aha. Good. I really appreciate your viewpoint. One more thing. Could you give me some idea of what kind of career I might go into?
What are you doing now? What's your name, by the way?
My name is Graham.
Hi, Graham. What are you doing now?
Right now? This very instant?
No, what are you doing for a job right now?
I'm a student right now. I'm about to graduate.
In what?
Political science, rhetoric.
It's interesting because that's not what I see you doing, okay? What I see you doing is basically running your own place. And this may seem funny, but I see ducks and a lake and sort of a farm animals, I think. Right.
That's me.
I don't know why I see that, because it has nothing to do with political science, but it's very much to do with agriculture and the raising of the consciousness of the farmer rather than the raising of the consciousness of the diplomat.
Do you think that might follow some kind of pursuit in farming business, agribusiness, something like that?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that, you know, it's enough of supporting the farmer as a victim, and let's start really getting together that we're eating his food, and that the farmer may now be a machine and or a cage full of 24 chickens, and that the production of those animals is simply the feeding process, whereas the farmer before was in charge of the ground, the earth itself and its fertility. The farmer has evolved into a space of simply being responsible to feed. So it's become the Oxfam almost.
I see. So a philosophical return of the farmer as the kind of backbone of society is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. And the same as a philosophical return of the psychiatrist as friend.
All right. Well, great. I really appreciate your viewpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham.
Bye-bye.
Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, here's Jenny.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering if you had an infatuation for the spiritual psychic energy coming from the moon, and if you do, how would you use that in your life?
Okay, if I did, and let's supposing that what you're giving me is your own mythology, okay, because I haven't mentioned that as being a fixation of mine, so I have to understand that it's a fixation of yours. Within that understanding, I do very much feel the moon energy, so that when it's coming up to full moon, I get a bit crazier than I am already, and sort of stay up late and do the whole trip. It's almost like a magnet. You know, the magnet comes nearer when the moon gets fuller. I don't know how it affects your life. What I can hear in your tone is an extreme sadness. What I can hear in your tone is an extreme romanticism. So you would go along to see not only a romantic film, but a romantic film that had a sad ending. You have a lull in your tone that shows me that you meter yourself, that you very much guard yourself against your heart movement when your heart's already way out into the stratosphere, so it's already gone, so you're guarding an empty space. How this will produce in your life is that friends will disappoint you because you never told them exactly what you wanted in the first place. So you
well, I think you're getting away from my question, though.
What do you want me to answer?
How, what I wanted to know was, when you do feel the energy from the moon, how do you apply it to your life? Do you apply it in an intellectual way, in an emotional way, in a physical way? Do you feel more active? Do you feel more creative? Do you feel more productive?
Okay, well, what I said to you was that I get a bit crazier around full moon time.
So in what aspect, though? Do you get more work done, or do you just have fun and go, you know, do whatever you feel?
I tend to stay up late and channel, which is what I do. I tend to look at the cosmos and the star systems and, you know, how planets interrelate and how human beings interrelate and how we first came into flesh and how we left the abstract pure thought form, what color grids mean, how colors interact with life.
Do you feel that if people use these forms of energy that are out there in the cosmic world as well as, you know, in the earth itself, that they would feel better about themselves and better about interacting with one another if they understood that source?
Okay, first of all, I don't believe in an out there, okay? I don't believe in the limitation of my own skin. So, and I could be sitting on the moon right now talking to you, and the distance traveled is not necessarily radio waves, because radio waves were invented after human beings traveled.
But that's because you're connected to those.
Well, you must be too, or you wouldn't be talking to me about this. You're connected too, remember, because you're on the other end of this line.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So how are you connected, and how does the channeling manifest in your life?
I'm connected purely in a natural way. I feel like the moon controls the cycle of the tides with the earth, then inside of yourself you have tides that are also controlled by everything, you know, in the solar system, I guess, on a big, huge scale. Okay. And then going from there, it goes all the way down to your, you know, the basic tasks you do every day.
It seems to me the only difference we have is that I believe I'm in control, and you're talking as though the tides are in control.
No, not necessarily. I think if you understand those cycles, that you get a better understanding of your mood changes and
to understand your mood changes. To understand your mood changes is to simply go backwards in time. It's a memory heritage factor. What I do is simply move with evolution, so that the understanding or the knowing that I have is simply within each moment that I know. It's not in regard to something that I once knew. I don't have to make a comparison to know. And that's the really important thing. It's it will give you freedom to simply move in the now motion, as opposed to a comparison to how you once believed it to be to move forward. That is a guided step.
So in order to fully live, you know, each moment, you're saying don't try to make things as they were in the past, but just draw on that.
Right.
That source as energy and not necessarily as the way things should be.
Right, and then write your script. So as you're drawing the energy from the universe and as you're moving through as a channel, that movement will give you the story of what you need to represent yourself as a moving vehicle, as a being, okay? That will give you your script, your story. If you have to relate it to what you looked like when you were 14, it will not match. Because one's going backwards and one's coming forward. That's called standstill. It's called stalemate. That you must, you know, with evolution, if you keep step with evolution, then that's called magic.
Oh, really? never thought of it in that term.
Okay, think about it for a while. Thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to give your name and ask Jenny?
Oh, okay. Jenny, my name's David.
Hi, David.
And I remember you speaking about how you judge a lot of people on appearances and so forth. And I just wanted to give you a little history. My roommates and I kind of dressed a little bit differently and what some might even call dark. And it goes kind of beyond our clothes, though, because our house, we decorated with a lot of draping tarps and fabrics and a lot of black. And the music we listen to is somewhat depressing, but we don't find it depressing. Other people will say that.
You're talking about the Crowley syndrome?
Crowley syndrome, maybe.
Yeah, I bet.
But would you call that a negative, or is there some hidden force that's driving us, or what would you have to say about that? What kind of
I'll
thing?
tell you a story. I was reading Crowley, and he's one of the greatest minds that ever existed in the universe, and he chose to be a black magician. What he did was, if you read his books, they're very powerful, and he says, listen, I'm going to rent a hole in the consciousness. I'm going to make you listen. I'm going to make you know that it's not just your minds, that evolution is a constant movement, and you can pick anything that you want from that. At the end of each paragraph, he puts something like, but you cannot learn these facts unless you're the third adept of the third adept, and on the third stage of the third stage, and unless you've done such and such an invocation. Okay, this was simply protecting his employment value, as all good wizards do. Okay, if he did not protect his identity, there would be no such thing as the Grand Wizard. How people read that, how they read darkness, is opposing to light. For me, let me give you some basic history. Light, for me, has no speed. Okay, so I do not believe in the speed of light. I think light is the hairnet of the world, and that it holds all physical form into shape. I believe that darkness is the first speed out of light to color. Okay, so for me, the shadow is very important, really important. The same way that I would ask someone that believes in light to not forget dark, I would ask someone that doesn't believe in light, that only believes in dark, to please, look again at the glisten, to look again at the gleaming, to look again at the fraction of shining. That it's very important that you monitor those two spaces.
Oh, yeah, well, that kind of goes without saying. It's not like we ignore one or the other. It's just that there's somewhat of a preference, and find black not in any negative sense at all. And
Okay,
find
but
nothing negative about anything, really.
Okay, but remember that you're phoning me because you're worried about people thinking that you're negative.
Well, I was just seeing what you would pick up if you were to come into this atmosphere, or, you were saying that you see things about people. Would you just look at it?
Okay, what I want you to do is after the program to phone, and I'll come and see your atmosphere.
Would you?
Yes.
Oh, I'd appreciate that, Max.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to take a station break. You're listening to KDVS in Davis, 90.3 FM. Jenny, I have a question for you. Can you find things?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So if I hid something in the studio, could you find it?
Oh, you set me up again, have you? I'll try.
Okay. Well, I have taken the liberty of hiding something.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
What do you need to know to find it?
Just talk about it. Talk about how you hid it.
I did not hide it. Someone else hid it. It's an object of mine, and it's hid somewhere in the studio.
In this particular room?
No, but it's in the KDVS radio station.
Okay, it's in between the albums, just there.
No.
You mean I'm wrong?
I don't even think it's near an album.
It's not near an album?
No. Do you
It's
need
not
to...
near the Grateful Dead?
No.
Okay. It's not a piece of jewelry?
No.
God, can you imagine? That must be the next caller. What do you want me to say?
Well, I was just wondering, do you need to know what it is?
Not necessarily. I need to know why you hid it. What did you want me to do?
Just for the fun of it.
For the fun of what?
To see if you could find it.
Why? Now, you could ask me what your major problem was, and I could tell you that, and that would be fun. And that would certainly be putting yourself on the line the same way the callers are.
Right.
Now, supposing you're not going to do that.
Right.
Supposing you're going to hide something in the studio to see if I can find it, instead of asking me to tell you about your romantic tiff right now, and the fact that you don't have a boyfriend, and the fact that you're really upset about that.
but I'm not.
Oh, she's lying, audience.
Anyway, for those of you out there, while Jenny thinks about where this could be hidden, the number is 752-2776 and 752-2778. Well, we'll get back to that one. If I had a friend who had the ability to dream something and then 2 years later actually that deja vu sense of feeling, see it, and they wanted to develop that, could they? And if they could, how could they?
Okay, what I do with them basically is sit them down in front of me, have them close their eyes and take them on basically I think it's called regression, but I don't call it regression at all. It's simply a steered journey. So I would ask her to close her eyes, I would take her back into that dream, and I would then have her progress the dream into the future so that she would give me a prophecy of today rather than 2 years ago. So once she established how her psychic felt right now, she would then be able to make predictions from that rather than wait 2 years to see if they came true.
Okay. Do we have a caller? No. Okay.
Do you have a desk that's marked Sharon?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that where your thing is hidden?
No.
God, none of this is working. What can I do about this? I'll have to give up my whole future as a psychic.
Well, we'll have a caller come in. Okay. Caller, are you there? Hello?
Hi.
You want to give your name?
My name is Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi there. I was wondering what you might see in the future as a career for me. I'm a student right now, and I'm working part-time as a junior secretary for a small office in Sacramento.
Okay, I don't know where this comes from, but this is what I'm seeing, and I see you not so much choosing a career of your own, but getting married in quite a short time, and that you then having to deal with realty, that you're selling property in some form.
That's interesting because I have a real estate license.
Oh, God, you mean I found your thing and I can't find this radio announcer's thing?
That's very
Thank God for
interesting.
80%.
But getting married in a very short time.
Yeah, something like 7 months.
Oh, goodness. Oh, gosh, I'm not prepared.
Like to a really neat guy, like really a kind man that maybe already is divorced and has a child, but like a really, really kind man.
Well, that's interesting.
It's a really nice marriage. It's like he has a real acute music sense. He just loves music. And likes to sort of, be alone with you. It's that one.
Oh, I see. Okay. And going into some sort of real estate position?
Yeah. Well, no, business. It'll be your own.
It'll be my own business?
You won't be working for anyone. You never did like that. You have a very strong tone, so you have a very successful future.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure,
I appreciate
Sharon.
your help.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Our next caller, are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
You're on the air. You want to give your name?
Hi. Jenny, my name is Karen, and I'm an IR major, and I'm wondering if you see any kind of future for me in IR.
What's IR?
International relations.
As in UN, right? No, because you should be working with kids. You should be working with young kids. You have a definite talent working in that direction. So when you're talking about international relations, that doesn't make much sense to me.
Well, it depends on the diplomats, I guess.
Okay, and how old they are, right? But I definitely see your talent as to working with kids. And I see you as running away since you were about 16, that you've been running away from a particular stereotype of what someone expected you to be, and yet you never quite made it. So you're still in the stereotype. But the breaking of that stereotype will be when you move into this area where you have to produce your essence. In about 3 months' time, you'll choose to change your particular student status. And when you choose to change that, your life will move in a totally new direction. You also have an apartment problem or something happening right now within your life as far as where you live, and it's something to do with a bed.
A bed?
A bed, and where your bed is and how much space you have. What I think that you need to do is to be more assertive, that you give in too easily, that you surrender too much. So I'd really like to see you assert.
Do you see anything as far as men are concerned?
Oh, God forbid. Only that you lay your whole trip out. So it's like you don't wait for them to get to know you. You lay your whole trip out, including your fears, so you usually get hit back with your fears. You tend to pick those, again, that emotionally cannot respond to you, because one thing that you cannot stand is too much of an emotional response. It scares you.
That's so true.
And yet what you demand in your heart is a totally emotional response. So you're caught in the double bind of, the devil in the deep blue sea. What you ask for, you get, and then you hate getting it because you think the guy's weak.
So do you have any advice?
Yes, be stronger, be more assertive.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Karen. We have another caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, you want to give your name and ask Jenny?
I'd like to ask Jenny a question, just through the tone of my voice, what you might pick up about my marriage.
That you're crying most of the time, that you're sad most of the time, that you feel a need for maternalism that's not fulfilled, that you're lonely, that you're the saddest caller so far. I don't know quite what to give you. In this distance or this medium, it's hard for me to give you the touch that you need right now. You've given up believing in caresses. You've given up believing in softness. One of the ways that you can help yourself right now, however ridiculous this sounds, is buy yourself a really soft stuffed toy. Start to get used to softness again and the effect of hugging something that's close to you. And it will alleviate the loneliness somewhat and give you some room or perspective to stand back and say, why am I dealing with this treatment of me? Why am I always in the wrong? Why am I always having to give up?
Oh, that's excellent.
Okay. But really, no, listen to me, because you can make a change in your life right now, and that's why you phoned.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay. Do we have the next caller? Okay.
Okay, my name is Terry, and I'm calling to find out. I'm a marketing major, and I've changed my major a couple of times before and have come back to business, and I'm wondering if Jenny sees me staying in that or if she sees me pursuing another career.
Okay, well, this may not make sense to you. I'm not sure whether you know about it, but you have a perfect tone for an organization called Amway. It's basically a huge marketing machine that I'm not even sure. I think it's a mafia wash, but if it weren't, it's definitely Bob Hope's new trip. As you move into Amway, basically it's selling small pieces of yourself to smaller people than you. You have an arrogance about you that will really serve you well as far as selling is concerned, and that's probably why you keep coming back to it. It's something that you're very adept at. As long as you keep your business separate from your private life, you won't have any problems being successful at all.
Okay. Am I allowed to ask one other quick question?
Very quick.
Okay. I'm not asking you to find anything for me, but I have recently lost something that is of a lot of value to me, and I'm just wondering if you can tell me if it will turn up, not where it's at, but if I'm ever going to see it again or if it's gone.
What is it? What is it?
Well, I have a gold watch and some rings that have been in my family for a long time, and I've just discovered them gone today, and I'm really panic-stricken.
Okay, did you have a guy that was staying that was a friend of somebody?
There were some people. I was.
This was a guy that sort of had a pretty stooped back and had hair around his chin and had leaning forward.
Yes.
Okay, that's where your stuff is.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, it depends on whether you wanted the answer or not as to whether it's terrible or not.
No, it's just to think that person would. But thank you.
But remember, okay, and remember everyone that's listening, people steal. And as long as you keep thinking of it as wrong, then we will have criminals. When you start knowing that people steal and some people don't, that's life. Okay? It's called life. It's not called right and wrong.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, pleasure.
Okay, our next caller. Are you on the line?
Hello?
You want to give your name and ask Jenny?
Yes. Hello, can I speak to Jenny?
Hi.
Oh, how am I doing? My name's Paula, and I come from near your part of the world.
Looks like it. Whereabouts?
Of Manchester.
Hi, Manchester.
Now, I have a sister-in-law called Susan. and she's been suffering from manic depressive illness.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned mental illness, and do you have any suggestions of what to do to help her?
Yeah. Let me tell you about a manic depressive that I once met. Basically, I was sitting with a girl who had outbreaks of manic depressiveness, and her husband, I asked him how he could tell the difference, and he said that he would arrive home and she would be gone. And I said, okay, let's supposing that she's normal, what do you come home and say? And he said, well, I come home and I tell her what sort of day I had at the office. And I said, okay, supposing you come home and she's not normal, what do you say? He said, I ask her why she's not normal. Okay, this is a really good bit of information as far as communication is concerned. If you cannot speak to the person from a normal level, then you have the ability to move to their space. You can speak to her from manic. You can speak to her from exactly the same tone that she's in, and she will understand you, and you will deal away with the separation issues she has. See, the pain of the manic depressive is because people separate them off from normal and keep talking to them like they're normal. Well, that's like talking to a dog as though it's a cat. It's a waste of time. You know, it's like you must talk to them in the tone they're in. If they're paranoid, then be paranoid with them so that they have some basis or some pivot of reality.
And do you think there's any hope for... You're saying then that there's no hope for what we call normality, that we have to enter into their reality?
It is. Well, their reality is reality. You know, everything that you make up today will become the reality of tomorrow. So as soon as mankind gets that their soul, their being, and their body and their mind are united, then so will the manic depressive be united, because that will be normal.
Okay, so she's never going to be the person that she was before she became, as we would say, ill.
Before she became ill. Not if you talk about her like that, no. She's never going to change. If you talk to her like she's changed personalities. People change their hair color. People change personalities. So stop talking to the Susan of 10 years ago and start talking to the Susan of now. And you may get some response, and then there's hope. And until people start doing that, we have no hope at all except the nut house for the nuts. And I'm saying that, you know, it's like the nuts are only in the nut house because we can't deal with our own dissection, because we can't deal with our own schizophrenia. So it's how much in control are you? And if you can really see what it is that she needs right now, then you speak to her from that space and stop speaking to her from the space of are you normal? Because that will produce a panic system in her. And it's the panic that's hard to deal with, not the manic. So remember, manic, not panic.
Okay, there's something else I want to ask you, of course. Mm-hmm. I'm in a job at the moment. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but do you think I should be in that job, or do you think I should be doing that kind of work?
I think you shouldn't be working for those two ladies. I think that you should tell them to get stuffed. And I think you should definitely take a promotion offer.
A promotional? Mm-hmm. What, like being a saleswoman?
No, a promotion offer, like move up in the realm that you're already in and stop taking any notice of the bitches. Okay?
You're jolly good.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, caller, are you there?
Yeah, hi, my name's Mike. I have a question for Jenny. Jenny, I'm a senior economics major, and I'm in the middle of making a big career decision. I've always been charged up for one goal, and now I think I'm changing in midstream. And I just want to know, what do you think about my choice? What do you think is best for me, or what do you picture me doing in the future?
Okay, first of all, you're speeding. So if you slow down a little bit and tell me what two options you're in, we'll talk about it.
Okay. I'm planning on going to law school, and I have been for a long time, but I'm also a pilot, and I like to fly. So I'm thinking about joining the Air Force right now. So I've got about 4 months to make up my mind.
Okay, I'll tell you an option that's really wide open right now, and that's being a lawyer for the airline companies. They really need it right now. That way you can really move in as far as that you can fly and you can be a lawyer at the same time. I don't believe in giving up either of the things that you like.
I see.
If you can link them together, link them together. So stay within the field that you like, which is piloting, and bring law into it, because that's what will provide you money. And you'll have a Learjet before 7 years is finished.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm kidding. As soon as you said it was kidding, then you destroyed the possibility of a Learjet.
Okay. This is fascinating. It's really interesting. I'm enjoying listening to the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, do we have a caller?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to say who you are and ask Jenny a question?
Okay, my name is Helen, And I find myself pulled in a lot of different directions, interested in a lot of different things, and so I'm wondering what you would see me doing in about 3 or 4 years from now.
Okay, firstly I have to tell you that I hear you're very depressed, and I hear that your emotions cracking in your throat, so I don't believe that you have many options. I think you have none.
Actually, it's just I'm very nervous about talking on the radio.
Me too. but below all of that, there's a certain tone in your voice that says that you're very unhappy right now. And I don't, you know, it's like when you're surrounded by options, it can either be a choiceful factor in front of you, so you can be picking between, paintings that are in front of you, or it can become a whirlwind of thought that you have no idea where to go. And I think that you have no idea where to go. Mm-hmm. I think you're a service-oriented creature. Therefore, I would suggest for you that you use as an offshoot, while you're looking at the options, a way of working with either, Davis seems to have this huge building that says battered wives and babies unite here. I would hope that that doesn't happen in the universe, but while it is happening, and while people are service-oriented rather than into friendship, then I would suggest that you offshoot all of the energy that you're feeling right now into a voluntary position, so that you can really take stock of what it is that you have and what it is that you want to do. You have a talent as far as being able to reproduce into words situations, as far as proposals, or as far as, knowing what's going wrong with the company and being able to write it. Stuff like that. And what I'd like to see you do is to step outside of the whirlwind that you're in right now and stop and have a look. Really take stock of your life right now and have a look.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have a caller.
Hello?
Yes? Okay, you're on.
Hello, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Delia.
Hi.
And I'm a psychology major here at Davis. And I'm really interested in counseling right now. But I feel kind of frustrated and isolated because I want to be able to help people at a deeper level than, say, a traditional psychological education would let me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to integrate my traditional training with some sort of psychic or transpersonal psychology training.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wondering, how do you see me doing this, or can you give me some advice?
Okay, that really links with the last call, because it's what I was saying about, when you're dealing with psychiatrists and psychotherapists, the first thing that you have to deal with is the fact that they have the highest suicide rate in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something radically wrong there. What happens with the psychiatrists and psychotherapists is, if they give you the answer, they will put themselves out of business. So it's irrational to believe that they will give you the answer to your life. What you can do is take it from transpersonal psychology to something that the mechanic from Modesto can understand, which is friendship. Get a few of the guys together that really believe that friendship still counts, and open up a center just for a couple of hours a week that people can come to that need a friend. So it's not for a particular reason. It's not aimed at the blacks, the battered wives, the victims, the alcoholics, the whatever else it is, but it's simply a friendship center that anybody can come to. You don't have to have a certain disease to come there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you really want to do something about it, then do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really simple to do that. Just open your center, place an advert, and do it.
Mm-hmm. Do you see me as having any future in doing some sort of parapsychological investigation, or even psychic counseling, or anything like that?
Of course.
Uh-huh.
That's not, it's just whether you have the willingness to take a chance,
Uh-huh.
to take a risk, and to actually move yourself in the volition of where you want to go. It's all very well, being in a setup and saying, I really want to change this, and these people aren't doing what I want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And how much guts have you got to actually stand outside of that building and actually build a building of your own?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the wind of change rather than knocking the walls down of time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're willing to do that, and you have people of a like mind, then all you have to give up is 2 hours a week and find someone with a room that they'll lend you and a telephone number, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's really, there's an old saying that's about a year old that I said a year ago, which is, victims are getting away with murder. It's enough. It's enough. It's like the car parks are getting taken over with handicapped spaces. It's enough. So stop it. Stop being the victims. If you want to change life, change it. I'm not asking you to walk, I'm just asking you to change.
Mm-hmm. How am I able to work toward that now, though? Since I'm only a junior at Davis, I don't see myself being able to do that right now.
Okay, let me tell you about the person that I go to for advice in my life is 9 years old. So size has nothing to do with anything. If I want a mirror, I go to a 9-year-old. She'll give me all the answers I need and in the way that I need them. So it's like as you move out, if you want to do something, lady, do it. And if you don't, then be angry at the system, because that's all everyone's doing right now. So either join the majority or fly on your own. It's called Fly United.
I was wondering, I'm going to be helping out, and after this year, I was wondering, what do you see me doing, or do you see me doing anything toward that goal somehow, or?
If you heard what I said, I see you opening a center. If you didn't, then I see you being angry in a year's time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for those of you, we're listening to British psychic Jenny O'Connor. We'll be taking a few more calls before wrapping it up. Hello, do we have our caller there?
Yeah, my roommate and I have been, we live in the dorms here on campus, and we've been receiving these notes in our room, just they appear, and it says stuff like, there's one right in front of me, it says, Marguerite can almost type, and it's typewritten and it's sort of smashed together. I was wondering if you could tell me anything about the person who's leaving these notes.
Give me an example of some more of the notes.
They're like, some of them are handwritten in like blue felt tip, and
What do
it
they
says
say?
Marguerite was here.
Okay, what you got to look at is I think that Marguerite, for me, would be the name of a drink, as in a la margarita. And I would suggest that one of you guys took a girl for a drink, or you bought her a margarita, and she wants to get to know you guys better, and that it's definitely a chat-up system. That it's sexual, that the clue is in the word Marguerite, but I don't think it's the name of the girl. So I suss it out as to see who had a date with somebody that bought her a margarita just about, because it sounds like you're broke, and that, you know, the notes that keep getting left, what I'd do if I were you is to leave a note on the door marked Margarita. Okay, and that you leave her a note. Just leave it up on the door. Wherever she leaves the note, leave her a note back. And you'll say, hey, what do you want? Be more specific.
And I was also curious, do you visualize these things, or does it just come to you? Like when I was describing the note, does it just come into your mind who Marguerite is, or how that comes to it?
Pretty much so. What happens is that I don't dissolve the senses, so it's not that I see or hear or feel anything. That before I ever chose to separate those senses off as feeling or hearing or touching, there was a whole sense, a holograph sense, called me. Okay, called me human. And that all of those senses together, whether I pick it up visually or audibly or feeling, is dependent on the person I'm speaking to, whether they're visual or whether they're oral or whether they're feeling. So it's like I pretty much stick to what I'm being presented with in the mirror.
So it's more than it's not really such a supernormal or paranormal experience. It's more just like intuitive common sense.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yesterday it was super normal. Tomorrow it will not be super normal. Today it's in discussion.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Okay, we have our last caller. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
You're on the air.
Hi, I have a dilemma. I have interest in two areas, and I cannot decide which one I want to follow. Can you tell me which one I'll end up doing? Is that possible?
No.
What if I tell you what the two areas are? Would that be helpful?
Great.
Okay, one is environmental law and the other is art, and I can't decide which one.
You already have decided art a long, long time ago. You said art with your stomach. You said the other one with your throat.
And
so it's absolutely art. So don't set yourself up for failure by thinking, aren't there a lot of us here? And yes, Davis, you do have a lot of artists. And no, I don't know what you're going to do with all the artwork you produce. But it's like you said art with a definite feeling statement. So you must stick with what you feel, not what you think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And can I also ask you, I know all of your other callers have asked you this, but what do you see in my future with men?
Okay, you seem to be very strong in that regard. So if I were you, I'd keep twisting them around your finger. That you have the ability to be able to maneuver men, and especially older men. So I would really stick with that ability and move it forward, because I don't think you don't look like you're going to get married for a long time. You definitely look like you know what you're doing, and you definitely are a manipulative female. I think that when used in power, manipulation is fine. When used from sneaky, it's not okay.
Okay.
So I'd really stay just where you are. You don't sound lonely at all.
No, I was just wondering.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends our line of telephone calls. Jenny, before our time is up, I was wondering, is it possible that you can make some, say, 6 months predictions, maybe on where KDVS is going? You know, and then we'll have you back in 6 months and we'll see how they turned out.
Okay, for me it's very important that KDVS stop dealing with the minorities of trying out bits of things. So it's like we'll try out a bit of this and we'll try out a bit of this and we'll see what audience response we get. The audience response that you get will be from a whole unit called KDVS and the atmosphere that that puts out. Remember that it's like a student town, and give them something to be excited about. It's boring in Davis. It's boring, and not only is boring, it's hot. I came here when it was 110 degrees, man, and it's hot. So it's like, you know, do something with, if I look through the paper and all of the personal column is hi big sis from fraternity number 6 or hi big sis from fraternity number 11. It's like enough of the fraternities, and what are they really doing at night? You know, what is Davis really doing at night? Put that on the air and you've got a big seller.
JVs take hard. Okay. For those of you who want to get in contact with Jenny, you can write to her box number 2529, El Macero, California, 95618, or phone her, area code 916-753-6771, for details whether on group or private sessions. Jenny, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't find your thing. Maybe the Lost Property Department will find it for you.
Maybe they will. This is Helene. You've been listening to Speakeasy. Listen up next time for Marco Capelli and his classical music.